Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Fly Fish Dan. Today we're going to talk about probably one of the biggest and most menacing adversaries of a fly fisher person, and that is the wind. Here we are, storm of the century. It's blowing probably 80 miles an hour right now. Leading into it. The irony is too, the day that I'm going to record this video, there's no wind, calm as can be. We all know we check the forecast before going out and fly fish, and the one thing we always look at is the wind. Nope, not windy at all. Ugh. Well, today I'm going to give you some casting techniques to consider when casting in the wind that'll help you cut through that problem. All right, let's get to it. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to cover safety. One of the things you need to consider is safety when casting in the wind. You don't want to put one of those big hooks in your eye or really anywhere near your body at all, or your friend's body if you're fishing with somebody. The next thing we're going to talk about is casting techniques. What are some things you can do to cut through the wind? Well, there are three specific things you can do to cut through the wind. One is to control the shape of your loop, and I'm going to give you a casting technique that creates a sharper loop and help carries the line through the wind when casting. We're also going to talk about a casting plane. You can control the plane of your cast, whether it's up or down, to help create the loop, which will help cut the line through the wind just a little bit easier. And I'll demonstrate what I mean by that. And also it's about line speed. So you want to be able to generate enough line speed to cut it through the wind. All right, so let's get out on the dock and start doing some casting. So let's talk about safety first. So I'm a right-hand caster, and if I have wind that's coming into my left shoulder and off my right arm, that's really the most ideal situation when casting in the wind. You want to keep that line as far away from your body as possible, and also the fly to also be as far away from your body as possible. But if you do find a situation to where the wind is coming in at your casting arm and pushing the line and fly towards you, there's a few things you can do to help combat the danger that's associated with that fly zipping by your head really fast. So what could happen? And this has happened to me. If you're fishing with the wind pushing into your casting arm, you could possibly create a line strike or a fly strike against the rod and break your rod. I was fishing in Hawaii, got myself in that situation. The fly hit the rod perfectly and snapped the rod in half with one fail swoop. Just that impact of the fly and those heavy beads that are on that fly broke my rod. So you want to avoid that. The next thing that could possibly happen is that you could hit yourself. Now that stings when it hits, and worse yet, you could hook an eye or you can hook it into your skin, and it's really tough if you're fishing barbed hooks to get that out. So try to avoid doing that as much as possible. So one of the things you can do as far as a casting technique is to bring the rod tip over to the other side of your body. So you're still casting with the same arm as the wind is pushing against, but you're bringing the rod tip over to the other side of your body and keeping the line and fly on the leeward side of the wind that's hitting you or to your casting arm. As you can see, I'm bringing the rod over to the other side of my body, and I'm starting to make the cast as the wind is pushing into my rod arm and my casting arm. The cast is happening on the other side of my body, so I'm keeping the line and the fly clear of myself, my head, and my body in general. Yep, our friend is still here, the two-headed deflated unicorn. Yeah, still here. So that is the best way to cast if you just can't avoid the wind pushing into your casting arm. So now let's talk about if the wind is in your face. So you're facing into a pretty strong headwind. How do you control that? So what you do is you change the plane to your cast. Typically when you cast, you have a straight plane, back and forth, right? You want to angle the plane down towards the water in front of you. So you're lifting your back cast further up, almost like you're doing a tower cast, and letting the wind grab your line and fully extend it behind your rod. And now you're gonna power it down with line speed and using a double haul towards the water. So by doing this, you create a sharper loop that's aimed towards the water, and it's gonna keep your fly in a trajectory to where the wind will be less likely to grab it on its way down. So throw the line way above behind you, let the wind carry it, and now power it down into the wind with some force and creating a lot of line speed to punch it through the wind. And that's one technique that you can use the wind in your favor. Now, if the wind is at your back and pushing forward, now that creates another unique situation. So you don't want to carry the line too far above your head because the wind is going to grab it and throw it. But you can use the wind to your advantage. You want to create some line speed with a double haul and get that line low and behind you as quickly as you can. And now, creating a big sweeping loop, bring your cast fully forward and allow the wind to grab your line and throw everything out in front of you. So now the wind is doing most of the work. You need to get a small portion of line behind you, make sure you have plenty out in front of you to cast, and let the wind carry everything out. I've done a lot of fishing in tropical areas that this type of casting technique is very effective in getting that line to let the wind do the work for you. So you might find yourself in a situation to where the wind is just too strong and gale force, right? And there's just no way you're going to be able to punch it forward into a wind or allow the wind to work in your favor and carry it in front of you. So the best thing to do there is just execute a roll cast. So you can create a really big loop of line and let the wind just carry it out and throw it out in front of you. So now essentially you're almost flying your fly line like a kite and allowing it to just fall in the water in front of you. So typically you're not going to fly fish in that windy of an environment, but if you find yourself flats fishing or you're able to hunker down in a lake and the wind's right behind you, you can just throw the line out with a big roll cast and let the wind do all the work for you. So there is one other thing to consider when casting in the wind. I would always level up a rod size when you have a windier day. So typically if you're fishing a 5 or 6 weight for trout and you know it's going to be really windy, perhaps you level up to a 7 weight or go with a faster action, which is a more stout 4 to 5 or 6 weight in those conditions. So gear does make a difference when casting in the wind. Also, you might consider a heavier fly. Depending on what's happening, as far as the hatch is involved, you might be able to get a heavier fly to help punch it through the wind. All right, well, I hope this helps you the next time you're out and it's a windy day and you can employ some of these techniques so you too can catch some more fish. Well, I appreciate you tuning in and all right, guys, until the next time, fish on.